Welcome to Code Drift. First question for the day is cheesecakes. We are given a circular cake, okay? So we have a circular cheesecake, right? And we are given a quarter knife, and we need to see if we can divide the circular cake using that quarter knife into A equal pieces or not, right? So since it's a quarter knife, so what a quarter knife is basically, it's a knife like this, right? So let's say we make the first cut, so it will be like this and this. Since it's a quarter knife, it will only divide the cake into quarters, which is the 1/4 piece of a cake, right? No matter where we make the cut, there will always be another cut which will make a quarter, right? So by this you can make an observation that A needs to be a multiple of 4. If it's not a multiple of 4, then we cannot divide the cake into A equal pieces using this quarter knife. You can try to draw 2 or 3 cases and you will observe that this is true. Let's try to cut the cake into 3 equal pieces. Can we do it? So for 3 equal pieces, we need the cake to be like this. But no matter how we use the quarter knife, we will never be able to make these cuts, right? Because when we will make this cut, we will have a cut like this, which will be divide the cake into a quarter, right? So that's the observation, that we will always be able to cut it if A is divisible by 4. So now what is the minimum number of cuts required to divide the circular cake? Right. So let's try to take an example. Let's try to cut the cake in 4 equal pieces, right? So first of all, I make a cut here. That's 1. Again, let me do it for here. That's 2. Okay. Now let me try to divide it into 8 pieces, right? So first of all, I'll make a cut here. Then I'll make a cut here. Then let's cut it here, okay, and then let me cut it here, okay. So on observation you will see that for n pieces I only need n by 2 cuts, right? So yeah, that's the answer for n pieces. If I need to, first of all I need to check if A is divisible by 4. If it's not divisible by 4, then the answer would be -1, since I cannot divide it into a number of pieces. But if it is a multiple of 4, then I need A by 2 number of moves or cuts to divide it into a number of pieces, right? And we also have a edge case here, like if A is equal to 1, that means we don't need to make any cuts at all. So then the answer would be 0, right? We don't need to check if it's a multiple of 4 or not. So the second question for the day is last night. So Chandler and Joey are playing a game in which for each round, Joey throws a number. Let's assume the number is X, right? So we have to, for each round, we have to find the number of ways that Chandler can throw a number in which Joey will win the round. So what happens is, let's say Chandler and Joey. So this is the number for Joey, and let's say Y is the number that Chandler throws, right? So whichever of the two numbers has a greater product value, that player will win, right? So let's suppose Joey throws 15 and Chandler suppose throws 22, right? So this is product value is 1 into 5, which is 5, and for this 2 into 2, 4. So this is greater than this, so Joey will win, right? So we have to find the number of ways in which Chandler can throw a number which will end up making Joey the winner in each round, right? So what we can do is, what the easy way of doing this is, the numbers that we have is, the set of cards can be 10 to the power 6 cards, and each number has that number printed on it. So we have cards from 1 to 10 to the power 6. So the brute force approach can be, let's say in each round, Joey will throw a number. Let's assume the number is X, and that X number has a value, product value, some value P, right? Now the easy way can be to iterate from 1 to 10 to the power 6. For each number we check if the product value is less than P, we increase our count, otherwise we don't, right? And that's how we can count the numbers which will have the product value less than P, and those will be the numbers which Chandler can throw, which will make Joey the winner for that round, right? But what will be the time complexity for this method? So since we saw that the number of rounds n can go up to 10 to the power 5, so time complexity for this method would be 10 to the power 5 into each round can take 10 to the power 6 iterations. So which will make it 10 to the power 11, order of 10 to the power 11, which is clearly not efficient, right? So what can we do? How can we do better than this? So in each round, instead of doing this iteration from 1 to 10 to the power 6 and counting each number every round, what if we could do some pre-calculations which will make the time complexity for each round as O of 1. So let's see. So what we can do is, in the beginning, we can iterate from 1 to 10 to the power 6. And for each number, let's start with 1. What is the product value of 1? It is 1. So I will take a map. Let's say I am taking a map. So MP of 1 plus plus. That means the count of 1 has increased by 1. That means now there is one number whose product value is 1. Now I will go to 2. The product value of 2 is 2. So MP of 2 is also plus plus, because now we also have a number whose product value is 2. When we will go to 10, let's say, what is the product value of 10? It's 0. So MP of 0 plus plus. That means now I have a number whose product value is 0. So I will keep doing this for 1, from 1 to 10 to the power 6. And in the end, I will have the count of all the product values. I will have the count of numbers whose product value are these numbers, right? And since I will use a ordered map, not an unordered map, an ordered map, which will store all these product values in sorted order, right? So I will have these values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the different product values that I will have. And all of these will have some count values assigned to them in the map. Let's say P, Q, R, S, T. These are the count of numbers whose product value is this. P numbers have a product value 0. Q numbers have a product value 1. And just like this, I have stored all the different product values, right? So let's take an example. Let's suppose Joey throws a number X, right? Let's say the value of X is 13, right? So the product value is 1 into 3, which is 3. Now I have to find the count of numbers whose product value can be less than 3, right? So I know this is 3, and all the numbers on left of 3 are less than 3, right? So I just want to know the count of numbers, sum of count of numbers, all the numbers whose product value will be less than 3. And how will I find that? It's nothing but P plus Q plus R. These are the values, because 0, 1 and 2, these are the values which is less than 3, right? And P plus Q plus R is the count of those numbers whose product values are these, right? So instead of doing these calculations each particular round, I can just store the prefix sums of all these numbers. For example, the value for 3, the answer for 3 is sum till here. The answer for 2 is sum till here. The answer for 4 is sum till here. P plus Q plus 4 plus S will be the answer for 4, right? So if I can just store all these values, like for 0, I can store 0, because there are no values whose product value will be less than 0. For 1, I can store P. For 2, I can store P plus Q. For 3, I can store P plus Q plus R. Similarly, for 4, I can store P plus Q plus R plus S. So time complexity would be of A log B, where A is the number of numbers whose product value we were finding, and B is the number of different product values. So we can also remove this log factor if we want to. So what we can do is, instead of using an ordered map, we can just use an array of size 10 to the power 6, right? And that way we can just store the count of all the different product values, because we know that the smallest product value can be 0, right? And what is the biggest product value possible out of all the numbers from 1 to 10 to the power 6? It's 9 to the power 6. This number 999999. No number will have a greater product value than this, right? And these are the only different product values between 0 and 9 to the power 6. This is the only range, right? So that's why we can store the count of all these different product values using this array of size 10 to the power 6, right? That will change our time complexity to just 10 to the power 6, right? And then O of n for all the different queries, right? And what about the space complexity? It would again be 10 to the power 6, because this is the only extra space that we will be using, right? Now let's look at how we will implement this using code. Okay, so this is the function solve, right? In the beginning, I have this array MP. I've initialized it with 0, right? And then I iterate from 1 to 10 to the power 6. For each number, I find the product value for that number, and then I just increase the count of that product value by 1, MP of P plus plus, right? And then I iterate in that array from 0 to 10 to the power 6, and I just calculate prefix sums, right? At each element, let's say this is the array, right? And these are the values, let's say 2, 0, 3. I just keep storing the sum at that point, at the point before that element. So the answer for this would be 0 plus 2, that is 2. The answer for this element would be 3 plus 2, which is 5. The answer for this element would be 2. The answer for this element would be 0. Basically the prefix sum up till the last element, right? That's what we are doing here. And then after that, what I do is I just iterate for all the elements in the different rounds, and for each round I just calculate the product value. I store it in the variable pp, and I know the answer is mp of pp for that round, right? So I'm storing the values for all the rounds in this array answer, and I just keep storing all these values, and in the end I just return my array answer. Hi guys, so the question is lottery. We're given 8 tickets in total, where no two tickets have the same ticket number. All the ticket numbers are unique, right? And these tickets exist in this array A, array B, and the ticket numbers are shuffled. So we need to sort them either in ascending order or descending order. That does not matter. And we have to do it in the minimum number of moves. So in one move, what we can do is, let's see, we have an array, let's say 5, 7, 6. Okay, so we can just pick one number, either move it to the front side or the back side. In this case, we'll pick 7, we'll move it to the back side, and it will become 5, 6, 7. So we sorted this array in one move, right? So we just need to minimize the number of moves, right? So the basic approach, if we don't have to minimize the moves, will be just to find the smallest number, shift to the backside, then the smallest second smallest number, then shift it to the backside, and then the just keep moving up till the largest number, and we will have the total sorted array at the backside. But that will take n moves. We have to minimize the number of moves. So how do we minimize it? Okay, so let's take an example and try to understand how the problem is working. So let's say we have an array 7, 9, 11. Let's say there's a 3, 6. Okay, and we have a 14, and let's say we have a 1. Okay, so this is the array. So what we can do is, so this is the array, right? First of all, I can pick 14, move it to the last. So 14 comes here. Okay, 14 goes from here and goes there, right? And then I can pick 6, bring it here. I can pick 3, bring it here. And then at the end, I can bring 1 here, right? These numbers disappear from here. Okay, so this is the updated array. So array is 1, 3, 6, 7, 9, 11, 14, right? We can see that it's sorted. And how many number of moves did we take? We took 4 moves, right? So how do we ensure that the number of moves are minimum? So we can see that the numbers which stayed as they were inside this position, we did not move these numbers either to the front side or the back side. What we have to do is we just need to minimize the maximize the number of numbers, maximize the number of numbers which stay as they are. We are not moving these numbers like 7, 9, 11. We did not perform any operation on these numbers. We performed the operation on 1, 3, 6, and 14, but these three numbers stayed as they are. So if we will maximize the number of numbers which stay as they are, automatically the number of numbers on which we perform the move get minimized, right? So how do we ensure that this happens? So for that, we just need to find a sequence. Just like in this case, it was 7, 9, 11. It was in the sorted order. It was in the order as it will be when the array will be sorted. The array will be sorted and the order is 7, 9, 11. And we already had 7, 9, 11. These three numbers were already in this order. So that's why we did not have to move these numbers. We just had to move the other numbers accordingly, either to the front side or the back side, right? So if we can just find the maximum length of a sequence which already is in that order, in which order it will be if we sort the array. So if we can maximize that, automatically the number of moves will be minimized. Okay, so now the task is to find a sequence in the array. So first of all, let me just rewrite the array. 14, 7, 6, 9, 3, 11, 1. Okay, this was the array. So I just need to find the maximum length of a sequence in this array, which is already in the order as it will be when the array is sorted. So in this case, the sequence is this only: 7, 9, 11. We cannot find a sequence of length more than this in this case. So how do we find such a subsequence of the maximum length? So the brute force approach is to just first of all sort the array, right? Store it in another array, and so that we know what the order is when the array is sorted, and then try to find all the subsequences of this array. And for every subsequence, just check if if the numbers in that particular subsequence are in that order, are in the sorted order or not, and just try to find the maximum length of that kind of a subsequence. So what would be the time complexity for that method? It will be 2 raised to the power n if we have n tickets. In this case, it's a, so it will be 2 raised to the power a. Okay, so that's an exponential time complexity. How can we improve it? So what we can do is we can sort the array. Okay, first of all, we can sort the array, store it somewhere, and then let's say the sorted array in this case would be 1, 3, 6, 7, 9, 11, 14. Okay, so for all the numbers, what I can do is I can store the previous number. For 3, I can store what the previous number in the sorted array is 1. For 6, I can store 3. For 7, I can store 6. For 9, I can store 7. For 11, I can store 9. For 14, I can store 11. So now I have all the numbers, all the previous numbers stored for all the numbers. So I can use a map or a hash map for storing these numbers, right? And now whenever I just iterate the array, right? Whenever I reach a number, let's say I reach a number 6. So I know using this map that what is the previous number in the sorted array. I check the array, I check the map, and I get 3. I know that the previous number for 6 is 3. Now I check, have I encountered a 3 before? If I have, then what is the best length of a subsequence it had? But I have not encountered a 3 before this. So the best length till now is 0. So I just add 1 to it. So the best length till 6 is 1. And similarly, for 7, I did not have any number like the previous number for 7 is 6, but 6 had not been encountered before 7. So again, for 7 also, the best length till here is 1 only. Again, even for storing these, we can also we can again use a hash map, right? Now when I reach 9, what is the previous number for 9? It's 7. Using this hash map, I can know. And what is the best length till 7? I've already stored it. It's 1. Now I can add 1 to it, and the best length till 9 can become 2. And now when I reach 11, I will see that the previous number for 11 is 9 using this hash map. And what is the best length stored at 9? It's 2. Now I'll add 1 to it, and the maximum length here it will be 3, right? And yeah, that's the best length of a subsequence that we have, which is already in sorted order. So using that, so whenever we have a subsequence, let's say of a length L, right? So for in that case, I just need n minus L moves to sort that array. Why? Because these L numbers are already in order. I just need to sort all the rest of the numbers, and the rest of the numbers are n minus L. Sorry, n minus L should be a minus L, because the total number of tickets are a, right? So a minus L moves. So I just need to find the best length L so that I can minimize a minus L. So let's see how we can implement this in code. Okay, so this is the function solve, right? We take vector b and the size of it, which is a, as arguments, right? And then we need to check for both the cases if we have to sort the array in ascending order or descending order. We just make two different functions for ascending, one for ascending and one for descending, right? And whichever gives us the best answer, we just return minimum of both these answers, right? So what we are doing that in that function is, so first of all, let's see descending order. We take the size, we take it in n in this case, okay, and the vector a, right? We just copy vector a into b so that we can sort it, right? And then we sort the array b. Now I have all the sorted numbers in the vector b, right? Now I take two maps, one I'm calling previous, prev, and the other is dp, okay? So first of all, I just store all the previous numbers for every particular number in the sorted order. So I have all the numbers sorted in the array B, right? I just store every previous number. So previous of B of I is equals to B of I minus 1. So all the previous numbers, right? And then I just initialize answer as n, because n is the worst case, right? As we discussed earlier, we can always sort the array in n moves. It cannot be more than that, right? So what we do is we start iterating from left to right, right? And for every number I check if the previous number of this number has arrived already, then it must have some length assigned to it. I just add 1 to that length, and I set dp of this number as that length. Otherwise I just set dp of this number as 1. Okay. And as we discussed, since dp of a of I is the best length of a subsequence till here, right? I just need n minus the length of the subsequence moves. That is the number of moves I need to sort this array. So I will just check if this is the best answer we have by taking minimum of answer and this number, right? Just by doing this, I will have checked all the possible subsequences, and at the end I will have the minimum number of moves in the variable answer, right? So just like this, I also check for ascending order. The only difference is in this case we were sorting the array in descending order, but in this case we are trying to sort it in ascending order. So we just sorted in ascending order. In that case we were sorting it in reverse, so that's why we took our begin and our end. So we can just use reverse iterators to sort the array in a reverse order, right? So yeah, just like this we can get the best answer from the ascending order sorting and the descending order, and then at the end we just return the minimum of both of those. So what is the time complexity and space complexity of this method? So since all of our iterations are linear, like this iteration is also of the order n, this is also of the order n, but since we are sorting the array, that is of the order n log n, so the time complexity would be O of n log n, right? And what about the space complexity? We are using two maps which will consume linear memory of the order n, and we are using extra array b to store the sorted array, right? So that's why our memory consumption is also linear. That will be order of n, so O of n, right? So I hope the solution was clear. Thank you for watching the video.